Hey guys, Zangetsu 134 here, bringing you another Kamen Rider Zio review, this time of episodes 21 and 22, the Ryuki arc. So, yeah, I know, work's just been really hard for me, getting me around recording, and I had to record at night when people are sleeping. But I got this now. I'm going to get through this one, and I'm going to get through Kiter, and then I'm going to wait until episode 26 comes out of Kamen Rider, Zio to start doing these more so that I can kind of get back on track. I might even try to record them later tonight. I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, but I've got the house free to myself now, so I figured I might as well get the recording out of the way. So yeah, Kamen Rider Ryuki. Not really a series I'm very fond of. It's very much a Toshiki Inoue production, which is weird because technically the lady who wrote Den-O and Amazons was the head writer for this, but like you can kind of tell where like her writing is and where Inoue's is, and how Inoue's doesn't mesh with hers. Like a lot of characters contradict themselves. It doesn't help that I feel like Shinji Kido, Kamen Rider Ryuki himself, is probably one of the worst main writers ever. He's just such a pacifist to the point where it's frustrating with him. Honestly, the other main writer of that series, Kamen Rider Knight, is a much better writer than him, and in a lot of ways is like the actual main character of that show. But it does hold a special part for me since its stock footage was used to make Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, which is what got me into the series, into Kamen Rider as a whole. Like Master Rider I knew of when I was a kid, which was based on Black RX, but I didn't know what it was based on. And in all honesty, it's not very good. I honestly prefer Kamen Rider Dragon Knight of the two American adaptations. It was surprisingly good for what it was. A lot of people complain about the issues it had, but to be fair, it was like the first attempt that 4Kids did with a live action series that wasn't just doing the Ultraman thing, because they had done Ultraman Tiga before, and it was just them dubbing over the whole show. But like Stephen Wang, who I think a lot of people know more for his Guyver films, particularly Guyver 1 and Guyver Dark Hero, which I think Dark Hero is actually really good. I'm not a big fan of the first Guyver film. I mean, well, I like it. I like that it does try to stay accurate to things about the series, but it's too comedic for its own good. And the Zoanoids do not look very good at all in that. I just think the second movie's a lot more closer to what the anime is and what the manga is as well. So, but anyway, that's just what I felt. Honestly, I thought this two-parter was probably one of the best two-parters we've had the whole series. I thought it was really well done. I like how it ties Shinji to Sougou, and that he's important to Sougou's character development. They both kind of have the same character development. And overall, I just thought it was a really well done two-parter. So, the episode opens, and it's apparently been like a week since Quiz, and that there's been a new rider attacking this whole time, who is a black dragon-themed rider. It's Kamen Rider Ryuga, and in fact, it's actually Dark Shinji, because basically Schwartz and Wool find a way, thanks to information they got from Tsukasa Kadoya, aka Kamen Rider Decade, that there is a world of mirrors, and that they could find a rider who could not be defeated via that lost world of mirrors, which is, of course, they're referring to the mirror world of Kamen Rider Ryuki. And so they give the another Ryuga watch to Shinji, to Dark Shinji, so that he can use it to basically get revenge. I'm spoiling a little bit because they don't reveal this until the next episode, but basically there is Dark Shinji is basically a mirror reflection of Shinji, but he's all of Shinji's dark repressed emotions that he represses because he doesn't like them, and that they're like and basically he feels resentment towards the people that basically abandoned Ore Journal because it didn't keep up with the times. Which is weird because back in the day it was an online journal, which is, like, to be fair, like, should have kept them around. But basically they kind of get the idea that, like, they didn't jump onto social media. Like, they didn't, get a Twitter handle or, like, a Facebook page. Basically, like, because they didn't have any of that, it kind of fell out. I mean, there's an older crowd that enjoys going back to Ore Journal stuff, but otherwise, it just failed. And so, Ryuga is going after all the people that stopped reading Ore Journal but had a subscription to them, because deep down Shinji felt some resentment because people stopped reading Ore Journal, so he lost his job. And so did everybody else that worked for Ore Journal. They get this idea mostly because Sougou and Gates basically, have been constantly trying to fight this guy, and even with the Decayed Ride Watch, nothing can be done because anytime they attack it, it creates this weird shattered mirror barrier that shoots the attacks right back at them, basically making it so that they cannot damage him, and all their attacks come right back at them. So they try to find the person who they're after, and they eventually come down to, they meet the original head of Ore Journal, and he tells them how everyone kind of gave up except Shinji, and so he went to go basically research why these Ore Journal people keep getting killed or attacked in this case. And so they come to Shinji's apartment, and it's covered with newspaper akin to the guy that Shinji went to talk to his apartment in the original first episode of Kamen Rider Ryuki, where he found his Advent deck. And basically it plays out like that, except they find Shinji's body on the ground. It turns out that because it was the winter, he covering and closing up all his windows was a bad idea, because basically the heater he was using caused a carbon monoxide gas to fill the room and almost nearly killed Shinji. He survives, but he almost dies. I think it's kind of supposed to be implied that maybe he was trying to kill himself because of the fact that he figured if he died, the reflection of him would die as well. Which it's never really explained if that would work. And in fact, I actually did some research on the Kamen Rider Wiki, and it kind of implies that that no matter what, Dark Ryuga will never die unless even if Shinji dies, because of the fact that he's a reflection. And so they talk to him, and eventually they come across Wools and Schwartz, who tells him that you can't get a Ride Watch to defeat him. Even the Ryuki Ride Watch will not work against him because he comes from a different world. So by that logic, there is no Decade or a Ryuki Ride Watch, because he, by all rights, can't be destroyed with it. It'll just get reflected back. And so basically, Sougou's trying to deal with Shinji and trying to. But while all this is going on, Gates decides to join up with White Waz because he figures that White Waz might have a solution. Gates has his own, but it's more of a fail-safe in that regard. And so he goes to White Waz, and so White Waz gives him the idea to just kill Shinji, because if he kills Shinji, by all rights, the mirror Shinji should disappear. The dark Shinji should just disappear because he's a reflection. And Gates feels horrible because he actually almost for a moment considered that, because it would mean he could prevent the dark future from happening. But that sickens him because thanks to all his character development with Sougou, he's came to accept that you can't just, it's not right to kill people just to try and save everyone else. You don't kill people to save people, basically. And it horrifies him, so he goes with his backup plan, which, while all this is going on, Sougou gets dragged into the mirror world by Dark Shinji, and he meets his counterpart on that side, Mirror Sougou, who I refer to as Dark Sougou, but who basically points out that Sougou's a massive hypocrite, that, he wants to be king, and it frustrates him that everyone's trying to prevent this future, even if he's trying to make a good one, that, he resents that Gates constantly tries to kill him, and that everyone's trying to constantly stop his goals, and that deep down he wants to become an overlord, even if it's a bad overlord. Which unnerves Sougou. And then, we get the awesome fight between him and his reflection, which was actually really cool. I actually like what they did, where he's completely reversed. For example, he loads his Zeo Ride Watch into the left side of the Ziku driver, and the armor ride armor slot is on the other side. Like, even to the point where, like, the word rider, on his, the kanjis that's on his face is backwards. And I thought that was really cool. And of course, Sogo's no match for Mirror Zio. And at first you think he's going to be trapped in there, but eventually Mirror Sogo just kicks him out into at 5DO, or 9 to 5 DO, which freaks out his uncle, because his uncle's right there. And so basically Gates and him realize that, like, the only way to stop him is to basically do a suicide attack. As Gates points out with his rider kick, which is something I actually thought was really cool. They actually go into like how their attacks work. It's like sometimes like the characters don't talk about how their attacks work, because he's done his rider kick before, and basically what happens is there's a slight delay between his wind up and his kick, which is caused by him causing time to rewind. So there's a bit of a wind up. So what he believes is if he can use that wind up to delay the reflection, he should be able to damage Dark Shinji, and they can get the ride watch. But the problem is, even if that happens, his attack will still get reflected back at him, which will destroy his Gates ride watch and will effectively kill him. And Sogo is, of course, horrified that he wants to do this, but Gates is not. And as Tsukuyomi points out, it's because Sogo's such a good person, he's rubbed off on Gates and proven that, he's not the dark Zio that he believed, the Overlord that they came to stop. And even Tsukuyomi believed that as well. She's believed it since the first episode. Which, of course, causes Mirror Sogo to come back and, constantly say in his ear, you know what you have to do. And during all this, Black Waz, in fact, gives him a new Zio ride watch, which is supposedly the beginnings of him becoming Oma Zio. This is the first step in him becoming true Oma Zio. And of course, but because Sogo doesn't want to do it, the ride watch won't work. And also the fact that Sogo just doesn't want to do that because he truly doesn't want to become the Dark Overlord that he met way back in, like, I want to say episodes 15 and 16, when he met Dark Zio for the first time, or Oma Zio for the first time. So, basically, he goes to Shinji, who has escaped from the hospital, and he just wants to talk to him and figure out what Dark Shinji's deal is, and so that's where they finally realize that another Ryuga is, attacking people based on his dark urges and, like, the dark side of his psyche, and that it scares him because he realizes that man is him. It's just the dark parts of him that he doesn't like and doesn't want to believe is true. Which finally makes Sogo realize that, Mirror Shinji, well, yes, is all the dark, or Mirror Sogo, there's too many Mirror characters. But basically, he realizes that he has to accept the fact that Mirror Sogo is a part of him. He has to accept the dark and the light, that he has to accept the darker impulses in him and, the anger and the darkness, but that doesn't mean it becomes him. He just has to accept that there are two sides to him, like a dark and a light. And in doing so, Mirror Sogo realizes that the two of them should combine, much like the two ride watches, and so he takes the other ride watch that he has based on Sogo's new ride watch, and they combine them together. Which finally gives him access to some of Oma Zio's own abilities, thereby giving him access to his new form. But before that can happen, of course, Gates goes through with his suicide attack, and it causes him to die. However, Sogo knew that would happen, and so in that uses the new powers he got to rewind time, much like how Oma Zio did back when we first saw him in the first episode. Basically, he now has the powers of a time jacker. Basically, he can rewind time, he can pause time, he can even predict the future, which we see later when he achieves his new form. Which, to do so, he splits the new ride watch in half and slots into both sides of the Ziku driver, giving him access to his new form, Kamen Rider Zio 2. Which I have to admit looks really cool. It takes like the clock and splits it into big two eyes and creates like these horns, basically giving him a more demon-like appearance, while also giving him more sashes. Like it splits the belt strap or the wrist strap of the watch that forms his body in half. And overall just gives him more gold and silver, making him look more like Omazeo. But of course now he's just so powerful. Using his new power, he can actually negate another Ride Watches. He doesn't need the matching rider power now to counter another riders. He simply needs to be able to destroy them using the power of ZO2. And in fact, not only that, but his attacks are so powerful it actually shatters the reflecting mirror shield that another Ryuga has. And quick aside, I actually really love another Ryuga. I love that he has a dragon palm to represent the strike vent that him and Ryuki have. He has the drag blacker sword, which also looks like drag redder sword. And I actually like that the mirror is actually kind of a reference to the shield vent that they all have, where they can use parts of their mirror monster to create shields. In Ryuki and Ryuga's case, it allowed them to take basically the belly of drag redder / drag blacker respectively, and use it to create a barrier. But here it's just a mirror, which I thought was actually kind of a neat look. And basically, Dark Ryuga is no match for ZO2, getting back on track. And in fact, ZO2 is actually able to see the future, and he can actually predict how his attacks are going, and he uses his new powers and the new weapon he got, the Saikyo Girade, which is a minute hand style blade that has Zio's face on it, which I think looks hilarious, but I will admit I kind of love the thing anyways. And is just able to defeat him. And of course, due to all the power he has, he eventually causes Ryuga to be weakened enough that he can defeat him, and combines the Saikyo Girade with the Zekon Girade, his other sword, to create a giant claymore. And I actually really love the Zio face because it actually has the rider kanji that appears on his face normally, but to do a finisher, he changes the faceplate to say Saikyo, which basically means best, and then slots it into the Zekon Girade's Ride Watch slot. This, of course, charging up his massive super move, which turns the Zekon Girade Saikyo Girade combo into a massive energy sword that has the kanji that writes out, I think, Zio is the greatest. Because I think it also says, like, Zio Saikyo, which means, Zio is the greatest, and uses that blade to just destroy Dark Ryuga, and thereby convincing Dark Shinji that, you need to stop doing these evil things, and you need to accept that you and Shinji are one and the same. Which Dark Shinji, I think, kind of is unsure of doing so, but eventually concedes and goes back to regular Shinji. And of course, the episode ends, and Sougou helps Shinji and his boss reconnect, and they decide to restart Ore Journal. And this time, they'll do it in a way that allows them to get their readership back and even new readers, which I thought was a really sweet send up for Ryuki. Like, even if I don't like Ryuki, I know a lot of people do. And so I'm just happy to see that, Shinji got a somewhat happy ending, even if I think he's kind of the worst writer ever. But unfortunately, it doesn't end happily for Sougou, as both Gates and Tsukuyomi leave, as they realize that Sougou truly is capable of becoming Omazeo. And so Gates and Tsukuyomi decide that they must do what is right, and they decide to go side with White Waz in his plan to create Gates Revive. So, yeah, that's the episode. All in all, I really loved the Ryuki send-up. I thought it was really well done. There's a lot of references to Ryuki. For instance, they do it where a stewardess gets attacked by Dark Shinji in the mirror by attacking her through the mirror in the restroom, much like the lady who was killed in the first episode by the spider mirror monster in the first episode of Ryuki. I really liked how they show that Sougou and Shinji both have they parallel how sometimes Kamen Riders come across dark reflections of themselves, and they have to accept that darkness is a part of them and move past it because they are still good people. It's just they sometimes have darker impulses. I think that's something that everyone can learn, that, sometimes you do have dark feelings and stuff that you don't like about yourself. But sometimes it's stuff you can fix, but sometimes it's not. And you have to accept that, sometimes there's a dark part, like there's parts of you that you don't like, but you just have to accept that that makes you who you are and just try to be a good person in spite of those flaws. I really liked, showing how Gates and Tsukuyomi have both kind of accepted that clearly Sougou is not the person that they came back to destroy, only for it to be shattered. More so for Tsukuyomi than Gates, because I think Gates has always been kind of uneasy about Sougou. But, like, he was starting to finally warm up to Sougou, only for both him and Tsukuyomi to see Sougou, embrace the power that Omazeo had, meaning that he's getting closer and closer to the day of Oma, where he'll eventually become Omazeo. But, overall, Sougou is unable, or, seeing that while, it's a good thing that Sougou, accepted that there is darkness to him, but he can overcome that, they see it simply as Sougou becoming closer to the Dark Lord that he is. Really, the only person happy for him is Waz. But overall, like I said, I think it's really well done. I love the fight between Dark Ryuga and Zeo 2. I thought it was really fun. I like just the powers that Sougou has, and I'm interested to see how things will play out now that Sougou has become Zeo 2. Which I'm looking forward to when I finally get to the Kamen Rider Kikai stuff. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this vlog. I'm going to try, and I really am going to try and get the Kikai stuff out by Wednesday at the latest. Because I'm looking forward to watching those. I might watch them today. I don't think I'll have time to make another vlog, but I'm going to try and at least watch them today. But with that, guys, that's gonna be it for this one. And I promise once that Kikai one is done, I'm gonna start doing the Godzilla vlogs, and I'm gonna go back and forth between, doing 1 week is gonna be Zeo, and then the next week, while I'm waiting for the next two-parter, it's gonna be Zeo or Godzilla. So with that out of the way, guys, this is Zangetsu 134. I'm sorry that I keep having big delays, but I thank anyone who's watching for understanding, and I will catch you all then. So until then, I'm Zangetsu 134. Take care.